The Ford Bronco is back, and its introduction blew us all away. It is quite the rig, lots of options, and it looks really badass. So the natural question is, if they're going after Jeep so strongly, how do they really compare? What are the specs really like? What's really to know the difference between the Ford Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler? Well, guess what? I got them. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the Ford Bronco versus Jeep Wrangler. I got specs, I got pricing, I got information we can go over and give you the details before you go shopping. We already went shopping. Kind of an impulse thing last night when they got unveiled. But hey. Oh hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. On this channel, you'll find truck and SUV news, reviews, and interesting stuff I do and fun stories and good information. Like this one. Hit subscribe, stick around. It's a good time. So what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to stop talking, put this on the screen, then I'm going to come back and kind of give you my thoughts on what the differences are between the Ford Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler, and they are really strong competitors. Let's get to all of that right now. Okay, let's check out the specs here between the Ford Bronco and Jeep Wrangler. This is on pickuptrucktalk.com, the website. You guys can come over here and pour over the specs for as many hours as you want to, crack cold beer, whatever you want to do. My crack team has put this together, and let's go through them. So these are the specs. We have a chart. It's a fancy dancy chart. A few things to point out is that, and as my friend and colleague Jill Simonello, who's the news editor over here, the managing editor, has pointed out the two-door Bronco is nearly 7 inches longer than the two-door Wrangler. The four-door length versions are closer in size, but the Bronco is still bigger. It's pretty interesting that the Bronco actually has maximum water fording of 33.5 inches, 3.5 inches more than the Wrangler. So it's pretty interesting. Here we go, the chart. So we're going to have a two-door Bronco, we have the two-door Wrangler, four-door Bronco, and four-door Wrangler. So we got to keep that in mind. So base engine is 2.3 liter EcoBoost basically, and then the base engine for the Wrangler is 3.6 liter. 2.3 turbo and 3.6 here as well. Now, as we go down, we have horsepower, 270, 285. More torque, though, with the EcoBoost. You just have more torque with that twin turbocharged engine. As we go down here, single turbocharged engine. As we go down here, it's fine. We have the 2.7 liter twin turbo. With the optional engines here is a 2.0 liter turbocharged and a 3 liter diesel. Now, this is the two choices they offer in the two-door, and the same thing happens in four-door. So these engine choices are about the same. As you move down, you see 310 horsepower versus the 270, 260, 400 foot-pounds of torque versus 442 for the diesel. So from a horsepower and torque standpoint, the Bronco is going to best the Wrangler in nearly every engine except for the EcoDiesel. Transmissions. So we have standard is a 7-speed. This is the 7-speed manual, 6+1 crawler gear. Now this is offered only on the 2.3 liter engine. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're looking for that manual in the larger 2.7, not happening. Sorry. The 10-speed is automatic, is available on both the 2.3 and 2.7 liters. And that will be the standard on the 2.7, like the higher trims, which we'll get to on other videos. You can check it out. I did the main video on the Bronco. You can check out all the standard features or here at pickuptrucktalk.com. Okay, here we go. We got the transfer case. We have the 4x4 part-time. Remember, the Bronco's got two systems. So we have the standard part-time selectable 2-speed. This is 2.72 to 1, or 2.72 to 2. Jeez. There is 2.72 to 1 over here for the Wrangler, so it gets me a little confused there. But we have the advanced system, which is optional on the Bronco, and I think it's standard on some of the higher trims, is the one with the auto four-wheel drive, so automatic on-demand 4-high. So that'll turn itself on when it recognizes wheel slippage. That's 306 to 1 is the low ratio there. Over on the Jeeps, we have lots of different options. We have a standard part-time. We have a Rubicon's got its own package with different drive modes there as well. We have an optional Sierra with a full-time four-wheel drive system. And then we have different things for the Rubicon there with different manual and different transmissions. Transmissions and different axle ratios. So lots of differences there with the Jeep Wrangler. As we move further down the chart, we have crawl ratios. So the automatic electronic shift on the fly is 57.19 to 1. Manual electronic on the fly is 79.92 to 1. Now the big news here is when you do the automatic four-wheel drive system with the manual with that electromechanical transfer case. You have the big dog, the 94.75 to 1. Now the automatic don't get that, but the manual gets that amazing transfer case. All that's quite a bit at crawl ratio. And that bests everything, even the Rubicon's crawl ratio is 84.2 to 1. So a big improvement there as far as overall crawl ratio when you are rock crawling. On the differential, the rear axle is a Dana 44. We know that from the press materials. It's available with the Spicer Performa-Track electronic locking differentials, so you can get lockers front and back. The front axle is a Dana Advantrac independent front suspension. There's the electronic locking differentials with the front as well. For the Jeep Wrangler, you have third generation Dana axles. You have open type with the available anti-spin, torque electronic locking, different axle ratios, 3.45, 3.73, and 410s. At the front axle, you have third generation Dana axles. You have different types there as well. And so you have a lot of different situations here of different axles. And the thing to remember is that the Jeep Wrangler has solid axles. That's your big difference there. So as we go down, we have final drive ratio. I'm just going to go through these a little bit. The chassis is the front independent suspension like I talked about, with this one is a solid front axle. We have electronic sway bar disconnect system with the front stabilizer. That's on the axle. Now the Ford has a front, it has electronic disconnecting bar as well to allow more articulation. As we kind of go through the bottom here, we have some things that you guys have kind of brought up to me. We have questions about fuel tank size. There's been some questions on the Jeep Wrangler as far as fuel tank capacity, whether it's 17 gallon or 20 gallons. People want more fuel tank, so we'll have to see what the Bronco comes out with. We have the wheelbase we talked about above, where the two-door looks like 4 inches more as far as wheelbase, and the four doors are about the same. The two-door is again larger and longer than the two-door Wrangler, and your length for the four-door Wrangler and Bronco are about the same. Height is a little bit interesting here. Depends on the configuration with the wheels, but the height changes quite a bit, and you can see the base height a little bit shorter. The four doors are about the same, except for that Badlands, or the Wild Track, with the bigger tires. Overall width, the Bronco is wider, and wider quite a bit as you get up to the Wild Track, which is interesting. I would not have been assumed that the width would have changed, but it does. And there is the width of the four doors, and you can see it's just wider. Maximum available towing is 3,500 pounds. It's same all the way across, except for the two-door Wrangler. So it's pretty interesting that that's kind of where all that tops out at. Now here's something I had Jill look into. I want to make sure I had this information correctly. Was the max payload, which I think is a really interesting criticism you guys have had with Wranglers. Looking at 1170, 1071, and 1370 and 1360 for four doors. So not a lot of payload. Ground clearance, looking at 8.4 inches, 11.6 with the bigger tires. These are 35-inch tires. And so you can see with the bigger tires it wins, but on the base model, Wrangler wins. Approach angle and approach, breakover, and departure angles. You can see the Wrangler does pretty well in two-door versus the Bronco's two-door. And four-door, the Bronco does okay versus the four doors of the Jeep Wrangler. It just really depends on what size tires you end up going with to get that additional approach angle, better angles. And max water fording, there you go. There's 3 inches more for the Ford Bronco. Now, let's go over here to pricing, because I think pricing is pretty fun too. So we looked up some numbers. It's on the consumer site, Ford.com. When you went to click on Reserve Now, you get the full pricing lineup. Really, full pricing lineup. So the base model is $29,995. Your four door is about $5,000 more than that or so. And then you can see that it's about the same, right? $4,000 difference between the two-door and four-door. And the first edition, which is already sold out, was $60,000 to $65,000. So really, the top of the trim level in the Wild Track for the Bronco is $52,000, $53,000. As we come down to the Wrangler, we see two doors and four doors. We see the starting price is $29,790, and that's about the same. Now there are more trims of the Jeep Wrangler, so there's a little bit differences. And the top of the trim, the high altitude that comes in only four door, is $51,490, and look at that top trim there, $52,865. So pretty pretty competitively priced, but if you go to the middle of the track, so let's say we're going to say Black Diamond's 36 to 38, as we go down to here and we look at 36 to 38 of the Willys and Freedom, the Rubicon a little bit more than that, Sahara's a little bit more than that. So we're kind of right in the middle of the pack. They've kind of done pretty similar pricing there as far as how competitive they are. Okay, there you go. There's the spec differences between the Jeep Wrangler and the Ford Bronco. What I find really interesting with the two vehicles is how much larger the two-door is. I didn't realize that. I also come to realize that the manual isn't offered as much as I thought it was. When you see that Ford Bronco with the manual, you think, oh, this is great, it's going to be awesome. But then you realize it's not in all the different packages as far as the different engines. That's kind of a bummer. Like, I don't understand why you can't get the manual on different engine setups. Kind of a downer thing. But I will tell you that looking at the two vehicles, and I've driven a Jeep Wrangler on many occasions, Jeep Wrangler is a solid off-road rig, and its smaller size does help in certain circumstances. Up north in Michigan, going through the trails where they have the snowmobile trails, the smaller size, a little bit better getting to the trails than a larger size. Not saying the Bronco won't fit, it's just kind of thing to think about. On the sand dunes, doesn't matter. You got tons of room. You drive whatever you want to, lots of space. I think overall you're going to have some really interesting choices as far as lifestyle. So I think Ford has done a great job of understanding the issues that Jeep owners have with their Wrangler. For example, they put a storage place for the doors and for taking the top off, and they made that top easier. So they made storage options inside the vehicle that Jeep Wrangler owners have had a problem with for quite a while. Ford said a story in the background I attended the week before about how they would find Jeep Wrangler doors chained to trees on the trails. Nowhere to store them. So they figured that problem out. They also have the solution for the GoPro. They have the cable right there. You can plug it in and keep that battery going. Because trust me, I own one of these, and this battery sucks. And so having a storage place for it to mount and a power hookup, huge win there. But you do have the solid axles in Jeep Wrangler. A lot of people love solid axles. I thought it was really interesting how Ford offers solid axles in their trucks, but not the Bronco. They just said independent front suspension gave them more articulation and better ride quality. Wait, I did a video on that, didn't I? I did, and you guys gave me a whole lot of crapola about ride quality in F-250. And then Ford just admitted it. I think there's something there. Anyways, so I think you have some really solid choices. I think the resale value on Jeep has been insane for quite a while. I'll be curious to see how that comes down, because that could be a really bonus for those who buying the Jeep Wrangler, as resale value historically has always been a lot higher in the Jeep Wrangler than it has other vehicles. So that's kind of a plus in their column. Plus they have different engine choices, including that 3-liter diesel. That's something that I was surprised that Ford didn't offer a V8, didn't offer a diesel, didn't offer anything else besides their line of EcoBoost engines. EcoBoost engines are a lot of fun, but I always find that you either get Eco or you get Boost. You don't get both. So there's some interesting choices there for the consumer. I can't wait to get behind the wheel of Ford Bronco. I want to see how it rides. Now, for me, I prefer a little bit bigger vehicle, a little bit better ride comfort, and, well, another couple different places for some cool tech and some grab handles and such. So I'm kind of leaning Ford Bronco. I'm sorry, Jeep Wrangler guys, but the newest is the sexiest, and the sexiest is the newest, and to me, that is the sexiest looking off-road truck there is right now, or SUV, or rig. Still a fan of Jeep Wrangler, but I think Ford has definitely taken it to them, and I think can't wait for them to respond and with a new product and really have some competition, because I'm telling you, the big winner of all of this is you, the consumer. You're the big winner, because more competition breeds better products, breeds better pricing, and breeds, well, a big win for you. So those are my thoughts. Yes, I know, I kind of was Ford Bronco, but last night it got unveiled. I'm still excited about it. I looked at the reservations. I was definitely thinking about it, like many of my colleagues were. But hey, what are you guys thinking? When you saw the reveal, were you like, wow, were you blown away? Were you kind of bummed because you didn't have a V8 option? Were you upset about the independent front suspension versus solid axle? Comment below. I've been reading your comments for a couple days now. I can't wait to read more of your comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Also, check out this video over here. Really good stuff. And the website's down below. Again, all this information on the website. You can sit back down there and you can pour out the details. You can tell us what we got wrong. We tried really hard at this thing. Sometimes things don't always work out right. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.